Okay, so I am going to demonstrate now how to center, open, widen, compress the base, and pull the sides of a cylinder. So I'm starting with a ball of clay that I've wedged, have it on the center of the wheel. I'm using the concentric circles on the wheel head to be able to put it on center. Using dry hands, I'm patting it on center, making sure it's really stuck. And now I'm going to put my wheel on fast speed. And I can take my foot off of the pedal at this point because I'm going to have it on fast speed for a while. And I don't want to fluctuate my wheel speed as I'm working, which can happen a lot in beginners. Make sure I have my sponge because I'm going to want to use a good amount of water for this process. Make sure my hands are wet, make sure the clay is wet. And the first thing I'm going to do is make sure just the clay is stuck down. So my elbows are anchored at my legs, and I'm just going to put some pressure downward. All right, now I'm going to do a process called coning. So my hands are on either side, and I'm going to use pressure really right here and right here. This is a strong part of your hand. This isn't as strong, this isn't as strong, this is very strong. This is the meat of my palm right here. So I'm going to put my hands on either side, and I'm going to squeeze the clay up. Re-wet my hands and re-wet the clay. Now I'm going to take the mound here and put it right in the center of my palm here. And I'm going to push this down. Now I'm not going to push it down flat. I'm going to push it down at an angle this way. I usually will put my hand here to anchor, but for the video, I'm going to eliminate it so you can see. And I'm going to push downward. I don't have to push down too far, just a little. Wet my hands and wet the clay, and I'm gonna cone up again. So again, my elbows are down, I'm staying anchored, I'm squeezing in and up. And now I'm gonna push down. This should not take a lot of pressure. If it takes a lot of pressure to do this, you're pushing down at the wrong angle. So again, I'm going to cone up again. And push down. Now what I'm going to do is called original position. I am a right-handed potter. I'm going to take my left hand. I'm going to anchor my left elbow into my hip. And I'm looking at the wheel head here as though it's a clock. 12, 6, 9, and 3. And I'll talk about that a lot as I'm working. So my left palm will be directly at 6, and I'm going to push forward. Notice that my fingers are not grabbing. They could just relax on the piece, but it's pressure all from here. Now I'm going to add my top hand. Now my top hand is not going to go flat. It's going to go at an angle. And I'm going to push down. So if at any point I need water, my hands are getting dry, clay is getting dry, I'm going to lift up my top hand, squeeze water, and then put it back. So I'm going to hold even pressure with both hands. Now I can do a change in pressures. So I could push more with this hand. I could push more with this hand. Ideally, finding a balance between the two, holding steady, and slowly taking my hands off. I always ask students to avoid getting this on center and then moving off very quickly. So you can notice it gets off center very quickly when you do that. This is a slow process, moving off slowly. Now that my piece is centered, I'm going to put my thumbs in the center, hands on either side, elbows down to my legs, am gonna push straight down. I wanna leave enough clay at the base so I can have a base to this piece. So if I wanna know how much clay I have left, I could use my needle tool, push this directly down, put my finger down to the base of clay, and lift up. This is a good amount of clay to leave. I definitely wouldn't want this much clay, and I wouldn't want this little clay. So now I'm going to widen. My elbows are down to my legs. My left hand, fingers are directly in and hitting the bottom. Notice that they're straight up, and these fingers over. And all I'm gonna do is pull directly back to me, so back towards my stomach. And slowly out. Now I'm going to do what is called compressing the base. Notice that this base is not completely flat, so I could use my sponge to compress that clay, flatten it. I want to maintain a nice right angle on the interior of this form. So what I can do as well is use this tool, using its right angle, positioning it not like this, but at an angle, and just letting it do its thing. Putting pressure down and letting the wheel do the work, compressing that base for me. Okay. Now I'm going to slow my wheel speed down to about half speed for pulling. Right now, this form is a little odd, so I'm gonna improve this form by putting my left fingers on the inside, sponge on the outside, and pushing with the sponge and moving up as I go, creating a nicer, more even wall to pull. When I'm pulling, again, I'm gonna look at this like it's a clock. 12, 6, 9, and 3. I am a right-handed potter, and I will always be at about 4 o'clock when I'm pulling. I should never be over here, and I should never be over here. So again, half speed. Take my left hand, left fingers, go to the inside, interior bottom. I could squeeze water over my hands, which will lubricate both the inside and the outside. And I'm gonna put my fingers on the outside, right opposite those fingers on the inside. Now, the fingers on the outside, I'm holding them like this. So I'm using 3 fingers as a point of pressure. Notice that my fingers are not like this. I'm not putting multiple pressures on the side. I'm putting 1. I'm gonna indent, pause, and pull up. So my inside hand follows my outside hand. Now notice, as I lift off, what's interesting is that when I start pulling, my inside hands are at the bottom of here, the outside hands are here. So as they start, these fingers are higher than the outside. When I finish my pull, this should be the same. All right, so fingers down here, holding 3 fingers. Notice that I back the 3 fingers with my thumb. Okay, this gives it a lot of strength. And I'm gonna indent, pause, and start pulling. Also notice how my left thumb is anchored and touching my right hand. The more I can keep my hands connected, the better it'll be for me to remain steady. So I'm gonna compress the rim after every pull. I'm gonna use my left fingers. Put some pressure, not a ton, and my right hand on top. I should do this after every pull to maintain a nice even rim. Okay, fingers in. So notice again, the thumb, my left thumb is out, and it's gonna try to touch my right hand as much as it can. At the bottom, indent, pause. And slowly off, compress the rim. So I feel that this cylinder has been pulled completely. I'm gonna take all of the water out of the interior. Do this when the wheel is still spinning. You will have less distortion. If you do not remove all of the water, you will usually get S-cracks. And if I bumped it in any way, I could re-steady it now. I'm gonna use this tool to remove any excess. I do that until I hear it hit the wheel head. I'm gonna use my needle tool and slide it underneath the mass of clay that I just cut. Stop my wheel, cut, and remove. I'm gonna take this tool again, give this a slight undercut, and I can clean this off. I'm gonna put water on the front part of my wheel. I'm going to use my wire cutter. Notice that I don't need to use the full length. I'll wrap it around, put my thumbs down onto the wheel head, and I will slide the water underneath the form. I can do this 2 times, 3 times, however many times it takes for it to move. I'm gonna dry my hands thoroughly. This allows this piece to stick to my hands. I'm gonna hold this like I'm holding a baby bird. I'm gonna slide it and lift it up.